Hello, everyone. Welcome to another BDPA Tech and Career Talk. I am your National Tech and Career Talk leader, Devin Jenkins. Serve as a commercial IT business partner at GE Healthcare, and I'm also the founder and CEO of Share the Vibes LLC. I'm based here in Charlotte. We're glad to have you joining from all over today. Whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or watching this on YouTube after we're live, we're just glad you're with us. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment below. Click that bell if you're on YouTube so you know when we post. Share the live on your page right now. And if you're watching this after the fact, share it on your page anyhow. People can still see it. So share this with someone who you know needs to hear the conversation because you know somebody who needs to hear it. So spread the love, man. We're glad to be back. It's been about a month or so since we had the talks. We always take a break from the talks for our conference month, which was phenomenal. We were in Indianapolis last month, was that July 15th through the 18th, I believe it was, for BDPA Con. So, hey, if you weren't there, you missed an amazing time. We had some phenomenal speakers and leaders with us, students doing amazing things, and Indianapolis showed a ton of love. So it was a good time out there. I'm in Indy. Glad to see some people we haven't seen in a while. And always good to be back with our BDPA family. So if you made it out there, it was great to see you. And if you didn't, hey, get in line so you can be there for us next time. So glad to have you with us. We're back with our Tech and Career Talks, finishing the year strong with our friends at Vanguard Consulting Group today, who are no strangers to this platform. So always excited to have them with us. Before we do that, I do want to just give a little bit of an overview of BDPA, as well as the Tech and Career Talk platform. So if you are new here, you're not familiar with the organization, you just happen to like Akil and Shaun, and you pull it up. I just want you to know who you're here with so you can have some context. And I'll flash up a little QR code here. So this will take you to our BDPA.org, which is our website. So if you want to learn more about the organization, you want to become a member, learn more about our chapters, that's all on the website. So BDPA.org. So you can learn a little bit more about who we are and what we do. So BDPA was founded as Black Data Processing Associates in 1975 as a means for developing the African-American talent pipeline in the technology industry. We do that by focusing on computer skills, technology skills, introducing technologies, robotics, etc., to youth, especially at the middle and high school level. We even had a third grader win one of our competitions at the conference this year. So we're really doing the work and grassroots here. So, but training up youth with computer technology skills and just professional skills overall, preparing them for careers in technology, but also providing opportunities for collegiate students and professionals to continue honing their skills, expanding their networks with other professionals and leaders in the sector. Our mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. We've been at it 51 years, and we hope to see it going another 51. So I'm excited for all the work we're doing. These Tech and Career Talks take place on the second and fourth Friday of each month. We bring in a range of speakers on a range of topics, but they're 1 hour. We cover different things. Today we're talking about innovation and entrepreneurship and community impact. Some talks are very hard coded, talking about AI, cybersecurity, robotics, brain-machine interaction. Some are more on the softer side. We talked about emotional intelligence, and we literally talked about how to work with jerks, updating your resumes and your LinkedIn. So we have a range of topics, a range of speakers. So whether you're that student that's like, what is technology? You're the senior executive on the brink of retirement or anything in between, you can get some value from these conversations. So I'm excited for today's conversation. Like I said, we have our friends from Vanguard Consulting Group back with us. Always glad to have them with us. They'll be with us for our next talk this month as well. So you're in for a treat. But I'm going to bring up Akil Bektemba, founder and CEO of Vanguard Consulting Group, LLC, who will introduce our speaker for today. Akil, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, Devin. It's good to see you again. I'm really excited to be back on the platform. Congratulations for a wonderful conference. And man, BDPA is moving forward. So I really appreciate and excited to be here.
Absolutely. Always glad to have you, Akil. Well, hey, I'm wanting to get out of the way. I'm going to let you take this thing over. Man, I'm looking forward to an excellent talk today.
Right on. Thank you so much. So, man, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody being here. Let's dive into this wonderful conversation. So I always like to bring in our guests with a little bit of fanfare, but I want to make sure that I am letting you guys know who we have here today. So I want to say good afternoon, to everybody. Welcome to the BDPA Tech and Career Talk. Our theme today is powered by purpose, amplified by technology. And that matters because technology by itself is not a destination. We all know that who are in the tech. Somebody has to be driving, right? So the real question is, what are you trying to build? Who are you trying to serve? And how can the right tools help you move with greater clarity, reach, and impact? And so our guest today has spent more than 25 years answering those questions through business, multimedia, leadership, youth development, and entrepreneurship. Shaun SF Banks, so I don't know if I call him Shaun, sometimes I might convert to SF, but he's a successful consultant, entrepreneur, and speaker who helps high-performing individuals and organizations gain clarity, build structure, and execute with confidence. He founded I Am Defense Institute in 2007, later built Camp Warrior King, which serves thousands of children and families annually, and created GOSFB, say that 5 times, GOSFB, which means Go, Observe, Strategize, Fight, and Become. It's a successful consulting agency and company grounded in strategy, accountability, and execution. Shaun is also the author of 3 books focused on parenting, youth development, and personal growth. And as Devin said, this platform is very much tech and very much in that space, but it covers all kind of ground. So we're excited to have Shaun here. Shaun, welcome to the BDPA Tech and Career Talk. And let's talk about what happens when purpose, strategy, and technology start working together. How you doing today, man?
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Right on. So before we get started, and dive in, obviously I have some prepared questions for you, and we're gonna get kind of into the meat. And just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of like the origin story. Before we got on, for those who weren't on, we started talking about high school a little bit and some where you're from and the old days a little bit. But give us a little bit of insight on who Shaun is, and then we'll dive into all the things that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Shaun Banks, originally from Seattle, Washington. Moved to Atlanta when I was 11 years old. Graduated from Thurl High School, which is what we were talking about, and then went on to University of Alabama, spent some time at Georgia State, bounced around until I decided I really wanted to get a degree and really finish up with school. But I was always interested in business. And I got started actually, my aunt and cousin were murdered in a domestic violence situation when I was a kid. And I always wanted to do something in their honor when I was a teenager. Because of what happened, my mom had got me into martial arts when I was a kid, just for discipline, right? Just and keep me off the streets, things like that. And so eventually I had the opportunity to open up the I Am Defense Institute, which taught women and children how to defend themselves from aggressive attackers. From there, we went and opened up Camp Warrior King, which is a youth development program designed to introduce kids to activities they normally wouldn't experience during the school year. And so a lot of that includes technology, especially for disenfranchised children that look like us, where they don't get exposure to technology like they should, especially with the kind of genius children that we have in the inner city. The exposure is key. From there, we went to You Can Have It All, which is all about motivating children to go after their dreams in spite of the circumstances. And just kind of built from there and just kept building and growing from there. So my background kind of was centered in what I had gone through as a kid, and just taking those challenges and turning them into things that could help other people around the world.
That's fantastic. You have a unique part of that, though. I know that when we do a lot of youth programming, I think throughout the ecosystem, it really a lot of times focuses on kind of 16 and up, 14 and up. You have a special niche that you touch, and that is 5 to 15 years old for your camps. Can you tell us why you focus on that group? And I think you kind of did a little bit with your background, but why did you focus on that group, and why is that tapping into that group so important to kind of the future of definitely our community?
Well, that's a great question. And a couple of reasons. One, state requirement. It's like, hey, look, 5 to 15 is where, basically summer camps can fall in, and youth camps can fall in the state of Georgia. But what we found is that, with the amount of exposure children are getting with social media, TV, and just in their environment, to be able to get them at a younger age and be able to introduce positive ideas into them actually allows them to perform better in school. So if you start getting kids, 6, 7 years old, and you start introducing things like self-efficacy, right, which is the idea of being able to actually accomplish a goal or task, and then you start introducing things like, hey, here's a drone and how to work that drone and getting over those challenges at a younger age. What we found is that those kids are able to perform at a higher level in school, which means that translates into better scholarships for college, better opportunities in the future. So that 5 to 15 range has really worked for us. And so we've been able to see the benefits of that with our program.
So exposure is huge, and I hear the technology thread through there. Tell us some of the other things that definitely the Camp Warrior King is doing. And I know you just closed up a session, super successful. I was really excited to see that. And you dipped off to help and get in there with me on some workforce development presentation with the Summer Youth Employment Program in Atlanta. Killed the room on that one too. So tell us a little bit more. We got a lot more to talk about, but I think it's such a unique experience that these kids are getting with your camp. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you guys do throughout the summer?
Yeah. So Camp Warrior King is, like I said, it's a program designed to introduce children to activities that normally wouldn't experience during the school year. So things like horseback riding, fishing, archery, drone flying, computer building, coding, martial arts workshops. We do whitewater rafting. We do spelunking. We take them do shooting classes. Anything that they're interested in doing, we do with these kids over a 10-week period. And it's really about just exposure, getting them exposed to things that, positive exposure, and get them to make friends and positive friends, building positive friendships, dealing with conflict resolution. We're big on self-efficacy, real big on just words and phrases to get them believing in themselves, getting them to use that in their everyday vernacular so that it creates a habit, right? We teach that excellence is a habit. And so, operating at that level of excellence, it translates into school where they're getting good grades. They're required to read a book, bring a book to school every single day. Well, to camp every single day. We have tutors we have reading tutors, we have math tutors. And so it's just really about building the whole child, and especially our children. We just finished our 13th year doing that.
Wow. So obviously you have a passion for this. You've been doing it a long time. At what point did you realize that your purpose and your passion was not enough, that you needed structure, systems, and strategy to execute this vision? And what changed for you? So kind of not going too far into the weeds, but how, what was the transition? You say, look, I got this great idea, and this is for folks who are interested in doing what you do, right? This is for folks who have a passion for serving the community, for service, period, and want to do this kind of thing. What did you change, or what did you realize, and how did you kind of take that concept into this amazing action?
To be honest with you, I couldn't stand kids when I started. I had zero passion to work with children, man. I was in the business sector. I wanted to be in business. I wanted to, just own a business for myself. I knew that. Yeah. And I didn't have any passion to work with kids. I just didn't want to be bothered, but I saw the need for it. Is what started happening. And then, the kind of markets kind of turned at a particular time, and I was like, okay, hey, this might actually work. And I got into it. And so what I found as far as, turning purpose into like structure, which I think is the question that you're asking, is just really kind of figuring out what the need is, and then trial and error is really what it is. It's just like the tech, right? So you have beta testing. You test in science, you have a hypothesis, you think, hey, this might work if we do this, and you find out, hey, it worked or it didn't work. You go back and you try it again. And so a lot of testing, a lot of trial and error builds experience, and then you start to figure out what worked, what didn't work. You have to read a lot. You got to do a lot of studying, a lot of shadowing, a lot of learning. But most of it comes from just hands-on experience. I didn't have any experience working with kids. At the time, I didn't have any children of my own. I had never run a camp before. I had done the martial arts part of it, but that was like an hour. Right. But when we start talking about working with children for, a 10-week period, it takes a lot more. So I started surrounding myself with people who had the experience, people smarter than myself in those areas. And that's what allowed it to really grow and take off.
That's dope. It's unique. You have a unique story. And most people that work in this space obviously had the passion first. You had the business mind, the aptitude for creating these programs and doing these things. And obviously you have the foundational experience from your own childhood. But I think it's funny and also very unique that you're like, man, it originally wasn't really about the kids. It was about, I wanted to do some business and I wanted to move in this direction. Most of us, it's all about the kids. And then we're like, oh, well, maybe this can turn into a business. So just the fact that you had kind of the converse of that happen is really interesting and obviously very successful. As you, the theme of today is, powered by purpose, amplified by technology. Where have digital tools given you the greatest leverage in business, consulting, youth development, and communication? What have you used and how has that, kind of pushed this mission forward?
So as far as how technology helped us, technology has helped us with allowing us to streamline our communication with the parents, first and foremost. We are in a time where people are very busy and very distracted. Right. So when they open up their phone, it's, a communication from our program right next to a, notification from their favorite social media platform and trying to get the parent to lock in on the things that we're doing because we have a lot of moving parts. I mean, most people that come into our program the first year are very confused if they're not keeping up because, for give you an example, most programs in a 10-week period may go somewhere once a week, right? That equates to about, anywhere between once a week and once every other week. So 5 to 10 trips over the course of a summer, right? Well, we do like 35 to 40. Wow. So when you're moving at that clip, and we're moving hundreds and hundreds of kids at a time. Mm-hmm. So when you're moving like that, technology is really important. Like I said, so for communication, it has helped us out tremendously because, parents are able to communicate directly with our staff. They're able to communicate with, the administration. They're able to get flyers and information, see videos. Tech has helped us with payments and being able to take those payments, keeping up with receivables, going after people that hadn't paid on time, which fortunately aren't a lot of people, and just even dealing with, transportation companies and things of that matter. Transportation has just the different apps that are available to the bus companies allows us to figure out exactly where we're going, the time it's going to take, so that we're not losing money on, overages and things like that when it comes to transporting the kids.
I love the thing about exposure, and you talked about drones, you talked about coding, you talked about programming. Obviously you are, you're incredibly efficient and effective yourself, but you obviously have to have a team to do all of these amazing things. Right. How have you? Is it through partnerships? Is it through you training a group? Do you kind of carry the same group through every year, or how does that work as far as you affording these not necessarily cost wise, but affording the experience and the input and the exposure to these to our youth around the technology pieces that you have integrated into your program?
That's a great question, actually, because we do a couple things. So one, we're nothing without the parents that we have in the program. A lot of times, especially with people of color, you kind of get jaded as far as parents, right? That everybody is, every kid is sleeping on a corner, or every kid is growing up bad, and that's not the case. We have some phenomenal parents that are either in the tech field or the legal field or just consulting field that support the program and really believe in it. So the primary reason why our program has been so successful is the parents and families involved that really believe in what we're doing, and they get behind that with their own resources. When we started, there was no funding available. We told parents, look, you're gonna pay $200-300 for a pair of sneakers. You're gonna pay $200-300 for your kids to get personal development.
Yes.
You know, what you're not going to do is say, hey, look, I don't have money for my kid to get some exposure to something, but they're coming, you know, they come fresh to death. They're fresher than us. You know, it's not going to happen. You're actually going to pay for it. So we actually found families that bought into that and invest in their children. So that's one. The second thing is you know, I was taught by someone who told me, you know your program's doing well when the children that are in the program come back to work there. And so now the overwhelming majority of the staff are children that came through the camp. So they know the expectation. They know that the standard is always excellence. That's the habit. And they're bringing back their own resources. You know, they're going off to college. They've gotten all these scholarships, and they're coming from, you know, North Carolina A&T and Hampton and Howard and Alabama State and Alabama A&M, and they're coming from, you know, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, just all over. Xavier, right? USC. They're coming from all over the country now and coming back with the things they've learned in school, right? So what they've learned about how to use technology, how to do things. So it makes my job a lot easier because their ear is closer to what's going on and the changes. And so they just say, oh, hey, look, we can do this instead of doing that. Hey, we can change this up. We can, you know, and because they care about the program, you know, and they were a part of it, now they're coming and helping to build it. And so that's what, you know, really pulls things together. And also, you know, some of the partners that we're starting to get, people that have interest in what we're doing, you know, people like yourself that support it and just really speak highly of it around the community.
Yeah, well, that's man, and just that, I mean, that kind of exchange from them, you know, being young, going through the program. So you've been doing this for 13 years, so you actually do have, you know, you have folks that have, you know, that you almost raised in the program, gone on, done their thing, gone to college, and are, you know, are committed and dedicated to bringing back those resources, bringing back those that experience that they have, and you provide an opportunity to have some input, right? To say, hey, you know, I know we've been doing this for the last 5 years, but we should switch this up, or we should make these adjustments, and you're open to that, which I think is also you know, a feather in your cap, because you actually push for that kind of change and that kind of improvement all the time for your program. What were you gonna say? Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and that's where the growth really is coming from, right? That's how things really start growing. So, you know, for both the locations that we have, they were run by kids that were former partners. So not partners, but campers. So the directors of, you know, the Atlanta location, the directors of the Gwinnett location were all former campers in the program. And so now they're actually opening up the doors, they're checking in the kids, they're interacting with the parents, and, you know, some of them are in college, right? And it's, you know, childcare is a very challenging task because, you know, the margin for error really isn't one. You know, you can't go on a field trip and say, oh, we brought back 80% of the kids. You know, no, you can't do that. You got to bring everybody back. Oh yeah, and you got to bring them back exactly how their parents dropped them off. Oh yeah, we brought back, you know, 95% of the kids, but this one's missing a leg. That one don't have an arm. That one missing an eye. Like, you know, you can't do that. And so for the kids that are now running the programs to be able to operate at that level says a whole lot about those kids and just their buy-in to it, but then also the way that they're implementing the things they're learning while they're in school. A lot of things that involve technology that have been able to allow us to keep the children safe.
Yeah, and you talked about engagements and activations in the number of, I think you said 30 or 40 throughout the summer, as opposed to most programming having, you know, maybe 10 throughout the summer. That 30 and 40 is absolutely full engagement. And I think the thing that, you know, I want you to kind of tell a little bit more about. First, I want you to, so you mentioned a couple locations. You said you have a location in Atlanta, you have a location in Gwinnett. Is there another location coming soon, or are those kind of the two foundational ones, and we're going to keep rocking in those? This is for people who are listening. We want to make sure that they know that this is available in those places, and that they, you know, we'll definitely put your information up so they can contact you. They can contact me to get to you, but I just want to make sure that folks know where this is available.
Absolutely. So we're looking to build a third location So we'll probably go west. That's been where people have been requesting it. West is in like Cobb County, heading out that direction is where we may look at going to go wherever the need is. And so, once we, are satisfied with how things are running with the locations we have, then we'll definitely add on another location. It's something that I do very gingerly, just because, again, just there's a zero margin for error when you start talking about dealing with kids, and the fact that our trips, we're not just going to the movies. I mean, you take 150, 200 children out whitewater rafting, and we're really on the rapids, and they're really like flipping off the boat and getting like they're really having those real experiences.
Yeah.
But we have phenomenal partners in those programs that keep the children safe. So it's a lot of work that goes into that. And those are 30 to 40 programs off campus. That doesn't include the things that we do on campus. It doesn't include like the shooting workshops where the kids actually learn how to shoot a real firearm. And the reason why we do that is because that's how children truly learn gun safety. It takes out the curiosity of a firearm. So when they're going to shooting a shotgun, and they're learning how to trap shoot, and they're learning that, and they're actually having that experience. And then we do gun safety classes for the kids. And then there's, like I said, the STEM classes, the drone flying classes, all these different things that we do on campus with the children, on top of these kids going somewhere just about every day to expand their vision of the world and what's available to them.
That's amazing. So I want to transition and talk a little bit about the books. You've written 3 books. What are the names of those books? And can you tell us a little bit about what they're about and who they're for, and definitely where people can get them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first book is Persevere, Overcome, Win. That was the first book I wrote on parenting and showing parents how to basically get their child to perform at a higher level. So it's not, when you say parenting, but I try to stay away from the word parenting, because I believe that no one knows your child like you do, right? And so, telling someone how to raise your child is a slippery slope. So I focus more on performance, how to get your child to overcome their fears, building their confidence, how to build their work ethic, how to get them out of depression, how to get them making friends, things that sometimes parents just need help to be able to do. So that's the first one. The next one is Raising Extraordinary Kids. We were doing some workshops and stuff with parents, and again showing them, it's the second book, a spinoff of the first one, showing them again how to get them to perform even better, how to get them how to get those grades higher in school, right? How to get them, you out of high school or you need them to get a job. How do you get them not only getting a job but a better job, right? How to get this child to actually get on their path to what it is they even hope to become, right? And the next book is Be Unstoppable, Living Life, Stop Holding Inferior Thoughts. So the which actually the title is bullshit. Stop bullshitting. It's what it is. Be unstoppable, living life, stop holding inferior thoughts, right? And it's basically, to stop limiting yourself of the potential that you have, and how to do that, how to actually take steps to make things happen for yourself, to accomplish your dreams. I truly believe that success is relative. And so, my version of success is different than your version of success. And that's okay, right? Live your own version and get out of your head and actually live the life that you really want to live the life that you imagine. And so all those books are available on my website for people to be able to purchase.
Right on. So professionals, a lot of professionals, in all, I guess, the entire ecosystem, definitely in our kind of area of influence. They talk about how technology is moving faster than they can keep up with, right?
Yeah.
What are 2 or 3 digital capabilities that you would tell them to strengthen right now for them to be impactful, efficient, effective at what they're doing in their designated spaces?
Okay. Well, number one is you have to be able to use AI, right? You have to be able to use it. And I would just say be able to use it in a way where it doesn't look like you're using it all the time.
Right.
It's like you see, like, for example, flyers are completely different than what they were just, 90 days ago. Every flyer is an AI flyer, which is cool. But, somebody like myself, you pay attention to detail. So, I got a buddy that, they're doing a brunch event. But then when you look at the food, it's AI generated food. So then it looks awful, right? The food looks weird, right? Things like that. So it's like people are just kind of throwing it out there and not really paying attention to the detail. So, number one, be able to use AI. You got to do that or you're going to be in trouble because you won't be able to perform at the same speed that other people can perform. By the time you come up with an idea, somebody's already presented it. So number one is being able to use AI, using it in your uniqueness in a way that it benefits you and it looks like it's coming off as it's you and not necessarily that you just threw something in a platform and and something came out. And then the next one would be I really like things like there may be new platforms in this now, but platforms like a Trello or Slack or things like that, where just workflow platforms where your business is organized. Everybody doesn't want to hear from you, right? If you're a CEO, matter of fact, they really prefer not to. Believe it or not, really you should be hearing from them. But then also allows for everybody to know what their assignments are. It creates clarity. So one of the things that I do is I use those so that my staff know exactly what the expectation is, exactly what they should be doing, and it allows for us to, like a football team where I say next man up, it allows for you to switch people out. So if somebody's like, hey, I'm sick, I can't work this week, no problem, I can put somebody else in. They know exactly what it is they're supposed to be doing as long as they have that skill set. And it eliminates a lot of mistakes and a lot of questions. So those would be two that I would say. And then the other one, the most important, the most valuable computer form or app or process is use your brain. Like people have got to a point where they're not even thinking anymore. And they forget that AI is only as smart as the creators, right? And so now people don't even think. So that third one, which probably should be the first one, is don't lose your own ability to create and design and do things. I think that because if not, you really kind of lose yourself. I think it's the way that you lose confidence in your own ability. You become dependent on something that you are not designed to be dependent on. So use your brain, right? Use that to create something that we haven't seen before, some piece of technology that we haven't been able to use, and use your brain to solve the problems, and then take that and use tech to kind of anchor your idea.
That I think if no one gets anything else from this conversation, that is probably and especially as we work with generations that come after us, because technology is only going to get more. The access is only going to get, there's going to be more access and more speed and all of this stuff. And I'm going to be completely honest. I do basic math on the calculator. Because I have, I'm just thinking like, I think the point that you're making is so important, because when we talk about technology, especially with our youth, but even with professionals, in our generation, it's a tool. It's not good for judgment. It's not good for, a lot of these other things that humanly you have to be able to, integrate into it. But the creative piece, I think you mentioned, is probably the most important. Obviously, it accelerates the speed of production. It accelerates your ability to get things done, which is fantastic. I use it all day, every day. But when I talk to people, and I'm glad you said it, that's why I'm kind of focusing on that for a second. When I talk to people, and we did the work this summer at the airport. Our combined message, yours and mine, was that utilize the tools, but don't lose yourself, right? and make sure that you are inputting, your thoughts, your passion and all the other pieces into it, but that the creativity that you're thinking and using your brain. That these tools are not supposed to take the place of your brain and what you can accomplish. So I'm really glad you said that.
Well, especially for youth, right? Especially for youth and youth, children of color, because the statistics on like reading, right? So 9 out of 10 children of color, by the time they get to the fourth grade, are reading at like a first grade level, right? Boys in particular, and then half of those children are reading below that. So we're finding that a lot of our children aren't reading as much, right? And now they don't have to read because they can listen or they can watch. So they have less of a need to actually read. But if your child's going to be an athlete or have any job, any occupation, or be in business or do anything, you're still going to have to read over that contract. And even if you're going to listen to it, you still have to be able to understand the words, right? And the brain is a muscle, just like anything else. If if you don't use it, you lose it. And so and it goes for adults as well, right? Just if we are not fueling our brain and using our brain to think of ideas and things, or to take an idea and to actually develop it, and we're just becoming totally dependent on other things to get us working, we really can't say that we created it. And we come from people that created pyramids and things without all the technology that they were leaning on. They were smart enough to create. So it's use what you have. And then, technology really should be a rocket booster on top of your plane to make it go faster and farther and make things easier.
Right on. I think a big component of what you do, and I've seen it in person, is the accountability piece. And not only, teaching them to hold themselves accountable, but to be held accountable as well. And so how that plays such a part in everyone's growth is important. And I think that, from what you explained and what you shared from from your own background to how you have, the former campers come back and support the program, to the parents, to the partners, all of that, is the accountability piece is so important. So how do you create accountability that drives performance without killing creativity and confidence? Because sometimes it gets a little confusing with the population that you work with, population that we work with. Sometimes when we are kind of pressing that accountability piece, it has the chance of potentially killing confidence, killing creativity. How do you avoid that?
Well, I start with, accountability is a gift. When you're in a position where you have to be accountable for someone or something, it's actually a gift, because you have been deemed reliable enough to have the opportunity to fail at something. And so, accountability, like I say it again, accountability is a gift. When you have to be accountable for something, you have to be responsible for a particular task or thing, and be in a situation where, it could actually fall apart. If I'm understanding your question right, where it could actually fall apart, and then you have to say, hey, look, it was on me, or, I met the goal, or I didn't meet the goal. And then also, in that, not only for the staff that work at the program, that's for the children that are participating in the programs, and then that's also for the parents, and then the adults that I work with outside of the camp, the people that I consult. We can only do so much. The rest is on you, the individual, to actually carry your part of the log and to get it, to get your goal to the finish line. So for the staff, I'm like, you take responsibility for everything, especially the leaders, right? Because we're working with kids. So you can't say, oh, well, this kid, how come this kid didn't eat today? Oh, well, they didn't tell us they were hungry. Come on, they're 9. They may or may not tell you. It's on you to do that, right? And so that keeps them in the fire, especially with me. But they come out better on the other side because we're constantly teaching. And so the way that we do it is do it out of love, and especially when you're teaching and talking about accountability, is to do it out of love, right? It's to do it in a place where people can appreciate it, they can receive it, and actually get them to perform differently, because that's the goal. All right, it's not to chew them out for something they didn't do right. When it comes to the kids, like we tell them, look, it is not your parents' responsibility to bring your swimming clothes or to bring your book. That is your responsibility, and you got to do it. And when you don't bring your book, man, yeah, you're not going to do the fun stuff. You're going to be bored for hours while the rest of the kids are having fun because you didn't bring your book, And then with the parents and things, it's, it kind of trickles the same way. With people that I consult, it's the same thing. Hey, look, this is your dream. I'm going to work as hard for you as you're willing to work for yourself. But if we lay out a plan and you don't meet those things on that board that we've set up, hey, that's on you. You got to be responsible for that. If not, you're not going to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And for me, it resonates heavily because what I'm hearing is that accountability is a life skill.
Absolutely.
Professional development skill. It's a life skill. It's important, and it's key to success all the way
Absolutely.
around. And so I love that part about it. And I love that you are, that you're impressing that upon the kids. So we talk about a lot about the camp. Definitely. We talk about, how you, the activities and all the things that you're doing with them. Let's talk a little bit about outside of Camp Warrior King. So you have a whole career and a whole business and a whole life outside of that. Although I could see how that would dominate a lot of your time. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing outside. I know you're consulting organizations. You're doing keynote speaking. For those who don't know, Shaun is an amazing speaker. So make sure you get his information, because he will motivate and invigorate any crowd that he's in front of. But let's talk a little bit about the other side of business and what SF is doing outside of the camp world.
Absolutely. So from just one of the things that I saw when we were doing camp was just the need for personal development around the world, right? That motivation is a universal language, right? Personal development is a universal language in a sense, like love is, right? Like music is, right? Where people can relate to it. And so we started You Can Have It All, which is motivating people to go after their dreams, right? Period, right? How do we get someone that says, hey, look, I want to be an engineer, and to not only just lay out the steps, but to get them to become the best possible engineer that they could be, and especially someone in a third world country or somewhere where the resources aren't as available. How do we do that? So I went to Uganda, East Africa, some years ago to speak there. I was invited to come out to speak. We did that. And there was an orphanage that was going to shut down. And, we had talked about it. I spoke with the people there, and I didn't know it at the time when I got there. And I had about 35 children. And it was, just basically run down. I mean, if you're not aware of some of the issues going on in other places of the world, just imagine a place, in the United States, you don't see homeless children, right? They're here, but you don't see them on the street like you would in other places, right? And just long story short, we saw a need. We took over the orphanage. And so now You Can Have It All orphanage in Uganda, East Africa. And we've been, making sure that children have education and have books and food and shelter. And part of the proceeds from our camp and things that we've been doing go to help fund that. So that's one of the things that I've been very passionate about and doing, because to whom much is given, much is required. And much is given isn't always financial, right? It's ideas, it's thoughts, it's connections. How do we help other people, especially people that look like us, to be able to grow? So I've been very heavily involved with the orphanage. And then from there, started doing a lot of personal development work, a lot of consulting work with individuals, showing them how to accomplish their dreams, which is where Go SFB comes from. Go, observe, strategize, fight, and become. And I'm very passionate about that, because I believe that people all over the world can accomplish their dreams if they have the steps to do it. And so one of my missions in life is to show people around the world how to do that. And in starting with the fact that success is relative. So I'll spend a lot of time with clients, developing strategies and helping them accomplish their goals, regardless of whether it's starting a business, whether it's writing a book. I've helped a couple people write their own books. A couple of their books are now all over the world, helping people. I've helped people start camps, get degrees, just anything that they want to do, because I've learned that the success patterns are pretty much the same for anything, and it's just about teaching and showing them how to do that, and then doing conferences and things and just staying busy. And outside of that, then of course trying to fish anytime I get a chance.
That's right. We talked about that. We do need to get out there together.
Yes,
I want to dig, because I think that it's when we talk about the work that we do, and we talk about and we look at the space that we're in, right? And there's a lot of organizations doing similar work, or at least have an intention. But GOSFB, you just mentioned it, but I would love to have you kind of break down, because it's go, observe, strategize, fight, which is rarely like an integration in this thing, right? Definitely observe, definitely learn, definitely become, definitely go, because the action has to be based. But that fight piece in there, I think is important, because people want to shy away from of that, even that word, right? And I think that you putting it in there intentionally is a big deal. So can you kind of just share a little bit about how you came up with that concept, that name, and I know it goes back to your martial arts training and some of the other stuff, but have to that in our day-to-day, especially in our communities, that fight is something that we have to be doing, and that it's important to be able to, one, not only realize that you have to, or that is part of your survival, but that is part of your growth. So can you just share a little bit about how that piece came about, and why it's laid out that way?
Absolutely. So Go SFB started with, one day I was just kind of doodling at my desk, and it really started out as my name, like Go Shaun Banks. It was just that's really how I started out. And I was like, well, that's cool. I just kind of stuck with that. And then I said, well, I can't have that on a on a flyer or something. I said, but it was just kind of something to motivate myself at a particular point, like go after what it is you want to do. Like for myself, it was me motivating myself. And then that translated into a couple of things. I'll tell you two quick stories about it, and just kind of how the name was created. So one, I was in the insurance business years ago, and I used to run a debit, which basically is going to people's houses and picking up their insurance payment. I met a gentleman, and his name was Reverend Pullins, and he was like 98 years old, this old man. And he used to say, hey, young man, every time you go out my gate, you're stepping into a man-made jungle. And so at first it hit me. And so it was that part, right? You stepping into a man-made jungle. So what I did is I kept that part in my mind for years. That was actually like maybe 2010 that I had done that. I just for years, that was kind of stuck in my mind. And I kept it. And then one day I was walking, I like to hike, and I was hiking one day, and I thought about the story of Joshua and Caleb in the Bible, where they were sent to go spy on the nations, right, to see if they can take the land, right? There were 2 spies were sent out, right? Actually sent 12, and 10 came back, I believe, and said that you can't take it, and 2 were like, yo, we can actually do it. And for a long time, I was thinking about an acronym for that phrase, Go SFB. And it hit me then, right? Go, right? They were sent out, observe, look at the land, strategize, right? Okay, we can do it, but how are we going to do it? And fight, right? They had to fight to get it. Whether, however they had to fight, There was some friction involved, right? And the success is on the other side of the friction. It's always on the other side of the fight, and then become. And you're not going to become without the fight. And that's why I put fight in there. But it models that story. That's where it came from. And anytime I've done anything that has been involved with, God, higher power, I've always had success with it. And so when that hit me, I was like, yeah, that's it without question. But the fight part, people are afraid to fight because now things are made so easy. You used to have to cook. Now you can just microwave, you just go out to eat. Right. You used to have to think. Now you just got apps that think for you. Right. People are moving away from fighting, but our people in particular have always been fighters. We have a culture of fighting. Even before we came to America, I mean, we were a culture of innovators, creators, fighters, designers. Right. So it's in our blood to have to create. Right. Fight. Think of something. Come up with an idea. Work. It could be work become. I mean, if you're going to have to work, you're going to have to put in some effort become. You got to put in something to actually make something work. Bible says faith without works is dead, right? Work, you fight, you got to do something. And so that is just the formula, I believe, for achieving the level of success that you want in life, whatever that is, that you actually going to have to fight, put in some work to make it happen. So that's why that fight part is there. And that's really how everything came together for the title. So if you see the logo, you'll see Go SFB, and you'll see mountains, you'll see trees and all that. That's that man-made jungle. Got from that gentleman, now.
I love that, man. I love that perspective. And I think that it's a piece that's probably missing in a lot of what our messaging and what we're not only just for kids and youth but definitely adults as well. For some reason, we think that fight and conflict are bad things, right? Or that they have this incendiary or negative connotation to it. The way that you're presenting is that it's a necessity in doing the work, right? It's a necessity in growing. It's a necessity in progress. It's a necessity in adjustment and change, right? And so those things, and the way, and I really want that to resonate with folks that are listening, because conflict is inevitable. Yeah. You're not going to get away with it. You're not going to get around it. It's actually going to be there, and it's not all bad, right? Things where are uncomfortable means that you're usually growing, right? Yep. And so I'm really, I really wanted to kind of impress upon that piece. Because I wanted folks to really get that. And the fact that it ties into everything else that you're doing as a kind of foundational piece is so important. So as we talk about, the things that you're doing as far as you being an author and writing these pieces that are really self-help and help books for communities, for parents, all of that good stuff. The approach is not that it's a parent guide, but it's a different kind of parent guide, right? And it's going to get them with this kind of conceptual background. So I want to, we have about 7 minutes left, a little less than 7 minutes left. I want to kind of dig in a little bit on our way out of here with what's coming up next, right? Like what's coming up next for GOSFB? What is coming up next for next summer for Camp Warrior King, the Institute, Shaun Banks? What's coming up next, and how do people get involved? I know that we have. You're going to be my special guest on Monday at Cobb County Adult Detention Center, which you'll be talking to the current residents there. I don't like saying inmates or any of those other words. They're actually people. They're brothers and sisters, and they're people. And so very excited about that. So I know that's coming up next week. But outside of that and the strategies we're looking to put together, what's next?
Man, there's a lot of exciting things that's coming up, which keeps me busy. One, let me say, just going back to fight real fast. One of the things I do with my staff, I mean, we fight a lot with the staff. I'll throw an idea out there and they'll just eat it up and tear it apart. And we'll go back and forth about ideas and things. And it creates the best idea. right? And so I would encourage anyone, if they're a team lead or anything like that, to throw ideas out and let your staff, your team, kind of tear it apart, kind of give their honest opinion, actually sit and control yourself and be cool as they talk about, how terrible it is, if it actually is, and then allow them to come up with other ideas. It's very freeing, it's very humbling, but then that's where the best ideas kind of come out. So that's that. As far as the future, fall camps are things that are lined up for camp this year. So just as the counties are changing their schedule, the need for programming throughout the year has become more of a necessity. So both counties this year need childcare, and so the daycares just can't handle it. And the daycares, the kids are just sitting there. So fall camps for Camp Warrior King for sure, spring camps for both locations for sure. And then next year we have a lot of cool things that we're lining up for the children. We always want to do new activities so that the kids aren't bored, because if not, they'll be like, we already did that, we don't want to do that. So we always try to come up with something else for them. So that's that. For I Am Defense and the self-defense programs, we're expanding those as well to provide more services for women that need to be able to protect themselves, especially as more women are they're moving and grooving, right? Like our sisters out here, they're business owners, they're moms, they're wives, they're whatever, but they're out here, a lot of times by themselves, moving and grooving, and need to have the confidence to be able to, get home safely, should a situation arise, whether they're out with their friends or whatever, just know what to do. And it's not always about, shooting somebody or fighting somebody. It's about just being smart enough to not put yourself in certain situations. And a lot of times we just don't think about that. So, with I Am Defense, it's more self-defense programs for women and children around the area that people can get involved in, have their women's groups or things like that come and have a great time. I will bring the red man suit out, and they can beat up on the red man suit, get off some frustration, and learn some self-defense techniques that'll save their life if needed. And then for Go SFB, it's all about bringing in clientele and people that are interested in changing their life. You have a lot of people that are very successful and affluent, but just unfulfilled, right? Showing those people how to be able to accomplish that. So we're doing more workshops with people, doing more one-on-ones, which take a lot of time, but it's needed, and looking to do more conferences this year to help people actually accomplish their dreams and goals. And we have another book coming out, so it'll be book number 4 that'll be out in October, which is going to line up with the personal development side, and just some different strategies as things have changed, showing people how to become the best version of themselves.
That's fantastic. I know that you based out of the Atlanta metro area, most of the programming is here in this area. But you also, BDPA is a national platform, right? It's a national organization with chapters all over the country. What would you, are you touching down in any other states? Are you doing anything where, people can find you, or even better, are you willing to go and do some of this work or expand into these other areas? Because I think what you have foundationally done here and the formula that you have created here is one that absolutely can be replicated and placed in other areas. And I know, because it's your baby and you have such a strong hands-on approach, that means that you may have to train other people to do what you do. But what are your thoughts about expanding into other communities around the country that maybe the BDPA listeners may be able to pull you into doing some stuff in those areas?
Let's do it. My answer is yes. Let's do it without question. That's part of the design and what it is that I want to do. It falls right in line, and I'm sure there are people involved with BDPA that would have interest in that, and I'm more than willing to come out wherever they are and teach them what it is they want to know, or collaborate, or show them how to do things. So I would absolutely love the opportunity to do that. one of the things I did is that's why we have the staff with the programs we have now, was so that I can have the freedom to be able to travel around the world to show people how to duplicate what it is that we've done, whether it was childcare with the camps, or personal development, being able to accomplish their dreams and goals. That's why we did it, so that I could have the freedom and leverage to be able to travel more, and to be able to help more people. And that's actually what I want to do. So that would be perfect if there are people that are interested, and will want to connect on that level. I'd definitely come out and do whatever needs to be done.
That's great. That's dope. So Devin in the opening talked about a third grader that won a competition at the last BDPA conference. Do you have any superstars that are little young superstars that we should be making sure that they are connected to BDPA? As a matter of fact, obviously you are now connected to BDPA, but I think that with that kind of connection, BDPA is doing hackathons, they're doing robotic competitions, they're doing all this stuff, and they're doing stuff all year round. Although they have one major annual conference, they're doing stuff all year round with all of these chapters across the country. And so I think the integration of your camp and the students and the young folks that you're working with will be a perfect merge with an organization like BDPA, and maybe you put together a team for the next conference that can go in there and give some folks some competition. That would be a very cool thing.
We most certainly can. We have tons of kids that are talented in tech that would love the opportunity to be able to compete and be able to show off their skills. I think it would be a great partnership, just because the children need to see adults in their field to see that they can do it too. Right. And a lot of times on TV, social media, they'll see people in tech, but they don't look like themselves. And so again, seeing someone that looks like you, that's doing something that, you have interest in, or you don't know you have interest in until you try it and they introduce you to it, I think is an amazing thing. So I would love to be able to do that, send some kids out there to the next competition and see how they do. I think that they would fare very well.
Yeah. So that means, Dev, you heard, and BDPA folks, you hear, you might have some new competition coming at BDPA Con 2027, and that would be awesome. And I just kind of want to close out with a couple thoughts. I want if you can give a takeaway to the boardroom, the CEOs, the higher level, one takeaway from this conversation that you would give them, maybe one takeaway to community folks who are doing some of this work, or even an entrepreneur out there. One thing cool about BDPA too that you may see is that there is a entrepreneurship thread, and they do a pitch competition and all that. So not only can you can have your group come in and disrupt the robotics and the those kind of hackathon and those competitions, but you may have somebody in your group who has started a venture, started a business, and can come and pitch at the conference. Devin runs the pitch competition too. So those are good things. But just kind of just messaging to close us out, what would be would be something that people that are listening to this should really take away from this competition, and from this conversation, and just from you in general as the leader that you are?
Sure. So you said for leaders and CEOs first, right? We start there. And then you said business owners, or what was
business owners, and then just community folks who are intention on an impact on the people we serve.
Got it. So for business owners or for CEOs, number one, I would say listen more, right? Listen more to your team. Be willing to listen more. Be willing to listen to the janitor, right? Listen to the person that runs the mail, the courier that comes in. Be willing to listen, because a lot of times as CEOs, it's a lot. They're talking all the time. Sometimes it's just sometimes you just gotta shut up. Just talk less. And your staff really want to tell you that, but they can't because you give them the check. So they're like, all right. So they just tune you out when you talk. But listen more. Listen to what they're saying and actually implement some of the ideas, because that gives people buy-in. One of the reasons why a lot of companies that have great retention of staff have it is because the staff take ownership by implementing ideas and seeing that ideas actually work or fail. But the fact they had the freedom to do it means the world, and they're not always going to get it right. But if you're listening and people feel heard, then they're going to actually perform. And that's how we get people to perform, is that we actually listen, or at least try to. So for CEOs, man, listen more, shut up and listen more. For business owners, this one goes for CEOs as well, is always be a student, right? What's the last book you've read? What book are you reading right now? How often do you read? If you're not reading or listening to some type of positive information on a daily basis, you are behind. And you should be doing both every single day. You should be reading some form of content, whether it's on your phone, but preferably somewhere you could turn a page and highlight something. Your library really determines where you're going to go in your life. Right? What does your library look at home? If you're just reading just inspirational stuff, that's not enough. You need to be reading some autobiographies. You need to be reading some know-how. You need to be reading some novels, right? There's inspiration from everywhere. So for business owners, read and always be a student of your craft, so that you can become a better person. And then for people in the community, people that are working, operate in love. Man, you never know what people are going through every single day. Everybody has their own set of baggage that they're dealing with when they come into work, or when they come into school, or they come into your program. Operate in love. Be nice. Be kind to people. That goes a long way. It'll keep you from getting cussed out. It'll keep a lot of friction down, but then it'll also make you feel better, and people will appreciate it and want to be around you when you're operating out of love with people. Even if somebody's having a bad day, you be the person that's like, hey, you all right? Just asking those questions. Be a person that operates out of love, and that will go a long way with the people that you're working with.
That's fantastic, man. Those are good words. I think those are important, and I think that people heard. Obviously, we talked a lot of tech, we talked a lot of programming, we talked a lot of organizational structure and all these things. But when it really ties back around, it's about the community impact. It's about the how we're touching people, how we're growing people. So I can appreciate that very much. I know Devin's getting ready to jump back in here and close us out. But I just want to say to you, man, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you.
There's something fundamentally. I was at, we talked a little bit on the way in here. I attended Render ATL this week in Atlanta Tech Week.
Nice.
And it was a powerful tech space. Obviously, the whole tech ecosystem was present, and there was activations all over the place, and there was all this stuff that was very, very high tech. But the one thing that I sat in on Kelsey Hightower's keynote, and there was one thing that he said, and I think that it's kind of foundationally what Vanguard Consulting Group is about, what GOSFB is about, what Shaun Banks is about, what BDPA is about with their concept from the classroom to the boardroom. And that is that this thing is really not supposed to be a marathon. We always talk about the marathon, right? And rest in paradise, my man Nipsey Hussle. And it's always, we talk about the marathon. But the thing that he said that really resonated with me, out of all the sessions that I sat in and all the information that I was able to get around technology, this was the one thing. So he says, it's not supposed to be a marathon. It's supposed to be a relay. Where you go as fast and as hard as you can, and then pass the baton at full speed, right? Wow. A lot of times we develop things and we get to where we can't run anymore, and so then we pass the baton, and that's right. And that's usually at the time where we've slowed down, where we are we just can't do it anymore. So now I'll take this time to give it to the next person. Right. He counters that. concept. His concept is more, let's run as fast as we can, and in full stride, let's pass the baton. So, in a relay, the other person takes off. You got to make sure you get to them. You pass that baton, but by 2 or 3 steps after they get that baton, they're in full speed.
They're gone.
That's how this thing, needs to go. And so I think that's what we're intentional about trying to do. We're not gatekeeping. We are not, holding, all of this knowledge and experience to ourselves. We're actually pushing the barriers around how this gets. So I would, like I said, I would encourage all of us, wherever you are in your career, especially if you're in full speed, find somebody, or pay attention to who's around you, who is also interested in doing what you do, and touch that ecosystem. The ecosystem is huge. And if we are paying attention, there's some talent out there that we should really be fostering and really be supporting. So I know you're doing that on a day-to-day basis, and I really, really appreciate what you're doing. Can you throw out your handles, let people know how they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So my IG handle is SF Dreams Big. My LinkedIn handle is SF Banks. My website is gosfb.com or gosfb.com. Which other ones you want? Can't Worry King, can'tworryking.com. I am defense.com. But if you go to gosfb.com, it'll link you to all of them. But again, IG is SF Dreams Big. Yes, sir.
Right on. All right, cool. So we are going to be, I just to give a little bit of updates on what we're doing over here. We're obviously all over. We're doing, we've expanded our work in reentry and justice impact and injustice involved. We've expanded our work in training youth. We're expanding our leadership consulting space. So we're doing a lot of stuff also, and it obviously is in support of other organizations like yours and BDPA as a whole. I would like to say that, kind of as a shameless plug, Southeastern Employment and Training Association has our Fall 2026 conference in Louisville, Kentucky from August 29th to September 2nd. And if you are in the area or you're interested in plugging in, go to seta.org, SETA.org, and register for that conference. I think today may be the deadline, so it's important to jump on that. So I want to make sure that people are aware of that, and we use this platform to share that information as well, because workforce development is actually the thread through everything that we do. You can't go get a hamburger without somebody working, right? So anything that's work related and has employees or personnel is workforce development training as well. So so you're doing workforce development even with the young 5-year-old. They're getting but I love what you're doing, brother, and I appreciate you doing it. I look forward to collaborating with you some more and doing some more work. And here he is. Thanks, Deb, man. We fantastic conversation with our special guest, and hand it over to you. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. No, thank you both for a phenomenal conversation. Thank you, Shaun, for the work you're doing in the communities, and I look forward to your students being at that conference next time around. It's going to be great. So we're glad to have you. Yeah, I heard you.
Yes, sir.
No, thank you both. Thank you both. Thank you everyone for listening, for tuning in. You heard the conversation. Listen, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Share it on your pages, send it out, email it, whatever, text it, Pony Express it. But share it out with somebody who needs to hear what was shared today. This is great. I'm glad to see the work that's being done by both Vanguard and GOSFB. So good work happening out here, and we're going to keep it going. So thank you. Like, share, subscribe, comment below, click that bell. We'll see you again in about 2 weeks. We'll be back with another great one. But until the next time, stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see you soon.